Hello again from Metro Manila to Philippines, Southeastern Asia. I continue my brief series on former female teachers who unfortunately then yielded to the temptation to engage in sexual activity with one or more students and are either in prison or on probation now. Mary Beth Haglin graduated with honors, majoring in English and Spanish, and faced a potentially even very successful career as a teacher. She was hired as a substitute teacher uh, in Iowa for one city's, I think, Cedar Rapids public schools. So she went from one school to another. At one school, she met a boy whom she had met already before her graduation as a teacher, so as a student teacher, and then after her graduation, pedagogical graduation as um, a substitute teacher. And then, according to her words, he supposedly caught her in her weakest moment. And she claimed, according to an interview by either Dr. Phil or by a journalist of the Crime Watch television program, that she was involved in a very abusive relationship with a young man. And then, after one particularly violent episode, she then gave into the temptation to have a sexual relationship with this teenage boy who, according to her story, called her Empress, while she called him Lobster. So let's go to the details of this case. I mean, since her dismissal as a teacher, as a substitute teacher, she found work briefly in a restaurant as a waitress, but after her criminal past was known, she was dismissed. Then she found work in a strip club as a stripteaser, nicknamed Bambi. So let's go to the sad story. This is from the Gazette.com, published on Tuesday, August the 21st, 2018. Former substitute teacher Mary Beth Haglin, convicted of sex exploitation, will start serving jail time in October, meaning 2018, but only for 90 days, and that was to be served in 3 separate terms. So, Mary Beth Haglin, who at the time of this article was 26 years old, which makes her then 27 or perhaps 28 now, was to serve her 90-day sentence in 3 separate terms, 40 days starting on October the 10th, 2018, 20 days starting on November the 26th, 2018, and then 30 days starting on January the 2nd, 2019. Haglin, a former Washington High substitute teacher, was convicted of sexual exploitation by a school employee, an aggravated misdemeanor, in December 2017. She had a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old boy from 2015 to 2016, according to Judge Kevin McKeever's previous ruling. Haglin had agreed to a bench or non-jury trial based on the minutes of testimony, limited evidence presented by the prosecution. McKeever had sentenced Haglin to 360 days, but suspended 270 days, which left 90 days for her to serve. So compared to former teacher Jennifer Caswell, known as Sexton, and especially then the last teacher whose sad story I will share with you tonight on YouTube, Miss Haglin may congratulate herself for getting off with almost no jail time. She wasn't quite as lucky as Miss Ramirez, who never had to serve in jail, but is still on probation. Haglin filed an appeal which allowed her to delay her sentence until the Iowa Court of Appeals ruled on the case. The appeals court made a ruling on May the 2nd, 2018, upholding her conviction. Haglin's lawyer asked the court that she be granted furloughs or leaves from prison on several days during her jail time so she could complete an online coursework from Kirkwood Community College. Jail inmates cannot access the internet while in custody, of course, because they can still contact their possible accomplices, or then, in the case of sex offenders, their possible former victims or potential future ones online. While granting those furloughs and also authorizing her work release up to 60 hours per week, McKeever did uphold the sentence otherwise. So it meant that Haglin could check in and check out of jail for employment. Many jail inmates are granted work release if they have verified employment. The court doesn't verify employment or approve type of employment. The Lynn County Sheriff's Office makes that approval according to McKeever's order. Haglin in May 2018 was employed as a stripper at Woody's Show Club in Cedar Rapids, according to court documents. Oseo Avila, 18 of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, was charged in June for stealing Haglin's cell phone on May the 28th. Haglin was working as a Woody's dancer at the time. Avila pleaded guilty earlier in August 2018 to fourth-degree theft, an aggravated misdemeanor, and was ordered to pay a $315 fine and victim restitution in Lynn County District Court. Haglin had also started her 2-year sentence of supervised probation, according to officials at the 6th Judicial District Department of Corrections. Haglin, as part of her sentence, was also required to register as a sex offender for 10 years and would be on a special sentence of parole for 10 years because this was a sex crime. According to Judge McKeever's ruling, the 17-year-old student met Haglin in the spring of 2015 when she was a student teacher at Washington High School. Haglin and the student then met again in the fall of 2015 when Haglin returned to work as a substitute teacher. They also admitted to messaging each other through social media and had sex in October 2015. Haglin also sent nude photographs to the student, and their sexual relationship ended in early June 2016, according to the rule. So, according to Ms. Haglin, the testimony that she gave in the interview, either by Dr. Phil or then by that man of the Crime Watch TV program, the student, without her knowledge or consent, distributed those photographs so that students began to disrupt her substitute teaching lessons, saying, "Miss Haglin, we know that you had a sexual relationship with this boy," or something similar. Well, of course, it's easy to say in hindsight that she should have avoided sexual contact with that boy. And then she should have sought someone who could have counseled her, maybe her parents, both of whom were extremely upset, extremely unhappy, at least one of them very angry at her for having thrown her a fine teaching career away like this. She seemed to show remorse in both interviews and even claimed that she never wanted to meet that boy again. However, Crime Watch tracked her down, apparently having a sexual striptease encounter with that boy in that strip club. And it seems that she has difficulty controlling these kinds of desires, but things, of course, can be done. And then, in hindsight, she should have perhaps contacted the school's authorities, like the principal, assistant principal, school psychologist, if they had one, guidance counselor, school social worker, and told her, told them about her alleged abusive dating relationship, and told them that she would need help in order to get out of it, or then told them about this boy's alleged sexual advances or her sexual desires or temptations regarding this boy. I know that, of course, that the risk to talk about such desires is a very, or the threshold is a very high one, especially if the adult experiencing those temptations is a successful and popular teacher. Because one automatic fear is that even if nothing inappropriate has occurred, that the teacher may be suspended from teaching or at least may have to transfer suddenly to another school. And if it's done in the middle of the school year, it's difficult to find at least a full-time teaching position, even in a country that has many students, like in my case, the Philippines. But once again, let's pray. Those of us who believe in the power of prayer, God, to really straighten out and cleanse and save Miss Haglin and the other people involved who are not yet right with God.